Welcome, Patreon members. Brian Miller here from the Brian and Dr. Christie Patreon. Hey, so glad to see you guys today. If you didn't hear, Adobe dropped a brand new version of Photoshop yesterday at Adobe MAX. It's Adobe Photoshop 2021. So if you are a Creative Cloud user, you can download that now. But I thought I'd share just a few of the new features. It's packed with new features, and we're still figuring out, what all's there and what we can use and how we're going to use it. But I'm just going to share a few of those with you today that jumped out to me as being either fun or useful. So the first one I want to talk about is Smart Objects. And in the new version, you can actually undo transformations on Smart Objects. Now, I haven't tested to see if you can undo it after you close and reopen a document, but like if you apply a transformation and do 10 steps or 100 steps or 200 steps to your image, you can still undo that transformation. So this is some Ghostbusters inspired art that I created recently, and I've transformed the ghost here, tried to do like a spiral effect on him, and maybe I liked that, and I was painting along and drawing along, and I got to the end and I thought, ooh, I transformed that too much. Now, if I had saved a version of the file, I could just go back and get that ghost, but with the new version of Photoshop, we can now go to the layer, the Smart Object layer, and we can do a right click on that, and we can come up here and now we can click Reset Transform. Right? So click the Reset Transform, boom, it puts the ghost back to how it was before I applied the transformation. So huge time saver for a smart object like that, especially if you're just trying to work and be creative and maybe you didn't save 2 or 3 extra versions of your document and you get so far along and you wish you could go back and just change that one thing. So I think that's a really handy feature that will help a lot of us when we're creating our designs to just be able to work a little bit more fluidly and not have to be so structured, which is nice. The second thing I want to show today is the new sky replacement feature. And so if we go over to the edit, so the menu bar edit, and then we can come down to sky replacement. And I think this does a pretty good job. So we'll let it do its thing for a second there. This is a photo that I took in Colorado, and you can see the trees overlap the sky, and it did a really good job of mapping that new sky in there. And you can select from all these skies that Adobe supplies, or you can even load your own. But let's just look at a couple that they've given us. There's the sunset. Look at how well it goes behind all the detail in the trees there. It's pretty good, right? It's pretty darn good. So you can just click on some of the skies that they've provided and see what it looks like. And of course, you're welcome to load your own sky images as well. So pretty impressive there. I would say that Adobe's done a good job with that, and I think we'll see we won't even know if a lot of people are using it because it's pretty good. And you can see it puts the sky in as a new layer with layer mask. And it even adjusts the color of your image to work with the new sky a little bit. The nice thing is with that mask, if there are some areas that you're unhappy with, you can always go in there and clean it up. But overall, I would say it does a really, really good job right off the bat. So I was really, really impressed with that. The next new feature is a colorize feature. Now this is a beta feature. So I'm going to show you guys and we'll see what we think about it. So from our filter menu, we have this new group of filters called neural filters. And this is where a lot of the new stuff comes into Photoshop 2021. If we click on the neural filters, it's going to open up a dialog. And I apologize if some of this dialog goes off screen because this new version of Photoshop is deciding to move itself around and not stay where I put it. But if we click on their little, it looks like a little beaker, that is all the beta filters. And we can go to colorize and turn that on. And what it will do is it will look at the image and try to colorize it. Now, it's not perfect, right? It's more of a beginning, but I could see where they're using these artificial intelligence to sort of take baby steps. So it did make some blue in the sky. It did make some blue in the water. It did add some greens and browns. And we can, toggle it off and back on and see the difference. So it's good. It's not great. It's not perfect, but it's a step in the right direction. I also tried it with like a black and white photograph of some people, like an old-timey black and white photograph, and it tries to put the color on their skin and things like that. So it's not perfect. It's a step in the right direction, though. So it would give you a starting point, and hopefully Adobe will just make that smart filter better as things move forward. And there's some adjustments and things we can play with. But overall, like there's a, well, I should probably show you guys. You can go in and do like a selective color, but it's not that good yet. So let's go to neural filters again, and to beta filters, and to colorize. I'm going to see if I can move this because I think it's trying to move it off screen. Hopefully you'll be able to see that. So what you can do is you can select a color. So let's say we want to make like a blue for the water. And you can click OK. And then in the preview, you can just put your cursor down where the water would be. And so you can see what it does. It puts like a bright blue in there. And you can adjust that color and try to get it to be just a little bit more realistic. And you can do it. It'll tone it down a little bit, right? So this is something you could play with. Again, I think it's more of a starting point than a finishing point, but you could map in some of your basic colors and then go and do some touch-ups. So kudos to Adobe for making that, and hopefully it will just continue to get a little bit better and better as they go. So sticking with the neural filter theme, they've got a couple of new face filters. So let's take a look at those. So again, we go to Filter, Neural Filter, and it's going to do its thing. And you can see it's drawn a box around my face, so it's recognized my face. And if we go to Beta, first of all, there's a makeup transfer. I'm not going to show you guys that, but it's really hilarious since you can load a photo of someone with makeup on, and it will try to apply that makeup to you. I played around with it with some photos of Christy and I. It works pretty well. So I think it works decently well. But the first one I can show you here is this depth aware haze. It'll recognize your face and it will apply like a haze to the background. Now here on this one, because I'm just in the room, it's not that impressive, but in like an outdoor scene, it can really help pop the person forward. So that's one to play with. But the one I really want to show you is the Smart Portrait. And I think this is really cool. So one of the things you could do with the Smart Portrait is you can change the direction of your gaze, of your eyes. So if I click the checkbox for gaze and I slide it to the right, it does all the computation in Creative Cloud, so it takes just a minute to think about it and do its thing. But it will analyze my eyes and it will try to move my pupils over to the right. It's downloading it now. We'll see if it finally does it or not. It's still thinking. We'll give it just another minute here. I may have tried to move it too far. There it goes. So now it's trying to make it like I'm looking over at Indio the cat a little bit. The other thing I could do is I could increase my happiness factor. So we'll turn that up just a few notches, and it should make my smile a little bit bigger. There we go. That's working. And so I could be happy with that. We could. That's. It still looks like me. It's a little artificial, but if you want to do some subtle tweaks to your face, you can do it. You can do some really crazy stuff too. You can even turn the direction of the head a little bit. So let's make my head turn a little bit more towards Indio the cat, and we'll see what it does. Right? So it's using artificial intelligence to manipulate that image. Overall, it works pretty well, and I think especially when the faces are a little farther away in the photo, it's pretty cool. You can also do some really creepy stuff, like for your Halloween photos, you can age your face to look really old and things like that. So a lot of it's technology we've probably seen in like some social media app filters coming to like the high resolution Photoshop world. So it's definitely kind of cool to see some of the stuff that they're doing there. So that's with the modifications, and we can see how the original photo looked, right? So it's a pretty big transformation that it does. Kind of cool to see. Who knows where we'll see that applied in our artwork and in our photographs, but it is worth looking at for sure. The next new feature that I wanted to look at was this new pattern preview, and I think this is really cool. So before, if you were making patterns in Photoshop, you would sort of have to guess or work out mathematically how things were going to repeat and then test and see. Well, now you can do it all in one fell swoop. So first of all, let me turn on the smart object. I have these TIE fighters. Now say I wanted to make a repeating pattern of the TIE fighters. Normally, we would have to come over to the edit menu and we would have to say define pattern, and then we'd have to fill with that pattern to see how it looks. Well, now we can just go to the view menu and turn on pattern preview. And now it will show us what a pattern looks like. And you can actually zoom out if you want to see more of the pattern, or zoom in. And if you want to free transform the object, move it around, scale, rotate, it gives you a live update of what your pattern would look like, right? So that's pretty cool. So if you're someone who is making like patterns for fabric or for wallpaper, anything like that where you need a repeating pattern, it's pretty cool. It works really, really well. But there's something else we can do too with this. We can actually start to draw our patterns in, and it will show us what they look like. So without pattern preview, right? So we turn it off, pattern preview. If we did a squiggle with our brush, we'd have to make a pattern and then do a test image to see what it looks like. But now with pattern preview, go to the view menu, pattern preview, we can draw in real time and it will show us what that pattern would look like. So we don't have to worry about having like a pattern that doesn't match up, right? This is something that's happened to a lot of us if we try to make a wallpaper, because you can actually connect, back to where you want to connect, or you could do something really crazy, but make it connect and make it work. So, right? It's pretty cool. It's definitely, we've seen this in like some applications and stuff in the past, but we've definitely never seen it in Photoshop. So I think pattern preview is going to be something that really helps us with our artwork a lot. And now while we have this open, there's just one more thing, one more new feature that I want to show you guys, and that is the new live shapes. So we've got our regular shapes. They've actually added a triangle. I think that's pretty cool. In the past, you could go to the polygon and make a triangle really easily, but that would confuse people. The same way we did our stars video, where people would be like, I want to make a four-sided star, and they would draw a box every time, right? Well, people were having trouble with triangles, so we've added a triangle tool. One of the cool things, though, about the triangle, all the new live shapes, is that we can modify them. So, like, if say we want to make this rounded edges, we can make the triangle have rounded edges. Now, in the past, if we were to free transform this shape now, like say rotate it or change the scale, in the past we would not be able to still modify the live shape, right? But now we can still go in there and still adjust that slider, even if we've rotated that or changed the scale or anything like that. So it's really cool, and I think it's one that's going to come in handy for a lot of us. So that's just some of the new features in Photoshop 2021. I hope this little introduction video inspires you to download the new version and to try out some of the new features for yourself. And we look forward to seeing what you create. Show us in Discord. Get on Discord and show us what you're doing with the new version of Photoshop. Until next time, guys, stay on target, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.